Welcome to Angie's Angles. Good evening, everybody. It is October the 16th in the year of my Lord, 2025. Tonight's topic on Angie's Angles are New York Mets free agent possibilities. And let's get the ugly elephant out of the room right away. Let's discuss one Pete Alonso. Hey, Harold, how are you, brother? Thanks for signing on. Appreciate you. We're talking about Pete Alonso, and I just had a conversation with my buddy Pete in the Scar Lounge. He says 550 Clark. I am duo interstatal. So Pete says, my buddy in the lounge, 5 years, 150 to 170. I said, let's do 6 years, 200. So we're in the ballpark. And the big problem that the Mets are facing is they cannot allow a protracted drag out on the Pete Alonso situation. Mark Brooks, my brother from another, what is going on? Hey, Nick, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you. So Nick's saying, hey, what's going on, everyone? I would love Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz back. Let's bring two of our stars back. We also have two new coaches, Kai Correa and Jeff Albert. Well, Jeff Albert is going to be in charge of hitting, and I think they're going to get a hitting coach, but they'll report to Jeff Albert. So Albert got a promotion from within the organization as the director of hitting for the New York Mets Major League team. And good riddance to Eric Chavez and Jeremy Bonds. Nice to have known you. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. So, Pete Alonso, we cannot allow a drag-out, up and down, unsure, unsettling situation with Pete Alonso. As I said on Angie's Angles last year at this time, when Pete was a free agent, I said, you got to go to Pete and Scott Boras with your best offer. Here it is. This is our max, Pete, Scott. Take it or leave it. Give them 72 hours. You want to do another 24, 96 hours to make a decision and get back to us. But we're not moving off our number. We're just not doing it. Because there are too many potential free agents out there that we need to pursue. And we need to know where our dollars are going to be spent. So you give Pete your best offer. You do what you got to do in terms of counting the beans. And you say, Pete, take it or leave it, buddy. And you leave it on Pete's doorstep. And if you're realistic in your offer, if you're sincere in your offer, I don't see why Pete don't sign. Anywhere between 5 to 7 years, anywhere between 150 and 210 gets it done. That's my humble opinion. I want to hear your opinions. Feel free to drop a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Angie's Angles on YouTube, please. If at all possible, tell a friend, tell a friend. Because if we lose Pete Alonso, and you're not only losing Pete Alonso, you're losing the face of the franchise. You're losing a homegrown talent who, if things go accordingly, could easily approach 500 home runs. And would be the first Met player in the history of our franchise to dance with the 500 home run mark. Sure, we had Dave Kingman who came up shy, but he wasn't a full franchise New York Met player. He had a couple of tours of duty with the New York Mets, but he also had tours of duties with 5 or 6 other clubs by the time his career was over. And that's a funny conversation to have. If Dave Kingman, and I think he landed at 4 was it 476 or 482? He was not that far away from 500. Can you imagine if Dave Arthur Kingman hit 500 home runs, which is usually the benchmark for Hall of Fame material? He'd probably be the first 500 home run guy never to make the Hall of Fame, because the other parts of his game were subpar. But give credit to where credit is due. Kingman, when he hit the ball, it was a no doubter. That ball was out of here. I'm sure that Harold could chime in and say, a lot of balls were smoked out of Wrigley, and by far longest home runs hit by Dave Kingman, definitely by far. So let's go two routes tonight. Let's go Pete Alonso stays. So where do you pivot? So you can pivot to Bellinger. You can sign both Alonso and Bellinger. Bellinger becomes your everyday center fielder. Bellinger becomes your Pete Alonso off-day first baseman. They could, if you want to put someone in that's a little bit better defensively in center field late in the game, you can make Bellinger your DH, etc., etc. Now, talking to my buddy Pete in the cigar lounge, we could also pivot to one Kyle Schwarber. Now, Kyle Schwarber comes to us a little older, but the guy's a beast. 50 and change. What do you have? 52, 53 home runs this year. And Clark Oatman, no chance that Pete Alonso becomes a St. Louis Cardinal. A couple of reasons. Boris will never let him hit in that ballpark. That is not a hitter-friendly ballpark, as we all know. That ballpark was built for gaps at speed. And Alonso, while he is a gap hitter, has no speed. Yes, Glen Allen Hill, Harold. I was going to say Sheffield, but you're right about the Glen Allen Hill. And if I didn't say Mark, what's going on, buddy? My brother from another making me try interstatal. I'm a little subdued tonight. I've been feeling a little melancholy. I had a bout of AFib Tuesday night. I think I've corrected the situation, but I don't know. I've got this feeling of doom and gloom over my head, and I'm not trying to put a finger on it. Definitely very, very stressed at work. It's been a busy semester. A lot of, hey, Harold, I am quadruple interstate. Harold, dialing it in from Alabama. Well, Clark, you know what? I would take Contreras on my team. I got to tell you, I like him as a ball player. I know you don't, but I would take Contreras in a second. I really would. Just taking a moment to use the torch lighter, light up my cigar. We're smoking a Perdomo Habano. It's one of my favorite go-to cigars. Thanks, Harold. I appreciate the advice about the AFib. I had a heart ablation a whole bunch of years ago, and that kind of corrected the problem. It comes and goes very infrequently, but Tuesday night was a little concerning, and it threw me into a little cause of concern. Josh Naylor is available out there, folks. What do we think about Josh Naylor? Having a pretty good postseason with the Mariners. He's a very good defensive first baseman. His WAR is only 0.2 points lower than Alonso's WAR. And I'm not a WAR guy, but for stat reasons, we'll compare it. So that's really our only first base option, unless you sign Bellinger to play first base and go get a better center fielder. Alex Bregman would be an interesting sign. Now, he too is coming off a pretty solid year. He's 32 years old though, but his WAR was a 7.7, almost double what Alonso's was, and not double so much, about let's call it 66% more better than Alonso. In terms of center fielders, we talked about Cody Bellinger, but Trent Grisham is also available from the Skankies. And Trent Grisham had a very solid year in the Bronx. His WAR was at 3.7, however. So do we need more guys that are swinging and missing or not getting on base? I'm not really sure. Kyle Schwarber is up there for the DH, 8.3 WAR. And then we come to pitching. We must upgrade our pitching. We got Dylan Cease. We got Framber Valdez. Now, I want Framber. I 100% want Framber Valdez. I think the guy's got chutzpah. I think the guy has no fear on the mound. And here's the interesting one. Freddie Peralta has a club option. Now, we're going to see how it goes. The club option could kick in, and he's going to be obligated to that if they offer him the club option. I don't see why they wouldn't. But here's an interesting, we want to call it a cheap signing, want to call it a reclamation project, but Lucas Giolito, he's got a mutual option as well. But he'd be an interesting get if we could get him for the right price. Harold, I see you concur with the Harold Atkins, you're funny that you bring that up. Crazy idea. Would you be opposed to moving Lindor to second base and sign Bichette? Well, I was thinking about moving Bichette to second base because I'm not sure you could pay Lindor $310 million and whatever's left on that contract and ask him to move to second. Although I do think Lindor would, and Lindor, let's be honest, did not have a defensive outstanding season at shortstop. And you could thank Pete Alonso for having not so many errors. And I tried to find it, and we talked about this last week on Angie's Angles. I can't find a stat on scoop percentage of first basemen. And I'll lay money. I'll lay even odds that Pete was in the top 3 scoop percentage guys in the Major League Baseball last year. Pete had a phenomenal defensive scoop season. Now, if I'm Pete Alonso, right now I'd be learning how to toss the ball to first base. Pick a method on how you're going to throw it to first base and stick with it. You can't underhand it. You can't lob it. You can't fastball it. You got to pick a way you're going to throw to first base. And I think the entire infield needs to practice how to throw the ball home on the third base side corner of the plate, because we were atrocious all season long doing that. Now, one of the things about the Mets season that stands out, and this is really almost a statistical impossibility. When trailing after 8 innings, we were 0-67. 0-67. Let's remember that. Now, sure, we came back and tied the game, or even potentially went up into the 9th inning, but we lost the game eventually. 0-67. There was no mojo this year at Citi Field or on the road. The New York Metropolitans spit the bit. Now, as we all know, they cleaned house, except for the one guy that I felt that they needed to clean the house with, and that was Mendoza. But bringing in Kai Correa as your bench coach has put Carlos Mendoza on notice. He definitely is on notice, and I do think if the Mets get off to a slow start, I think you can see them eating Carlos Mendoza's contract and saying adios, muchachos. So it's going to be interesting to see how we round out the rest of our coaching staff. It's going to be interesting to see who we sign for a hitting coach. Now, if this was 5, even 10 years ago, I'd make a play for Keith Hernandez to be your hitting coach. The guy knows hitting. The guy is a stud hitter, but he's also 70 years old now, and he's got no desires. I mean, he takes vacation during the broadcast season. He likes his little trips in. He likes his days off. He likes sitting in the booth. I can't see Keith Hernandez accepting that role. Clark wants to share some wisdom. Rule of thumb, if you take more than 2 steps to your right with a fast runner, you overhand the throw to the pitcher. If you were 2 steps and a slower runner, you underhand it. That's all fair, Clark. But I think Pete Alonso needs to not think about it. I think he needs to develop the toss, and sure, you do have to take runner's speed into consideration. I don't disagree. But I'd like to see Pete give a nice little flick, lead the pitcher, have the pitcher show the glove, throw it to the base. It's the pitcher's responsibility to get there. Yes, Clark, I don't disagree. So, Lucas Giolito is a very interesting pickup. Now, here's something that you're all going to laugh at me about. Say we lose Edwin Diaz. Let's just call it a loss. We're going to lose him. Because I don't really think the Mets are that enamored with the Edwin Diaz's makeup. I mean, the guy cried in the locker room. Now, there is no crying in baseball, as we learned from the movie. Forget the name at the moment. League of Women. A League of Its Own. A League of Its Own, right? There's no crying in baseball. He's a mental head case. He had a very good season for the New York Mets. Don't get me wrong. Very good season. But he also blew some saves in key opportunities. And he was part and parcel of that 0-67 after trailing by 8 innings. Yes, thank you, Harold. I appreciate you. And Edwin Diaz is 32 years old. Now, Devin Williams is 31 years old and had a horrendous season in the Bronx. Well, what if we just bring in Devin Williams? And what if he finds his elite status as a closer in Queens? Maybe he's got a chip on his shoulder to prove. You could definitely get him for way less money than Diaz, which affords you to upgrade at your other positions that you need to do. So my New York Met fans out there, and Harold and Clark, chime in. I don't have a problem with your opinions. Let's go around the horn. At catcher, we're set. We're going to give Alvarez another year, and hopefully he remains healthy and see what he does. First base. Who do you think we're going to get at first base? Let's go to third base. Is it Bregman? Do we go with the tandem of Beatty and Vientos? And now if you bring in a Bichette type of player who either now pushes Lindor to second or he goes to second, what do you do with Vientos and Beatty? You don't have enough room for both of those guys on that roster. What happens to Acuna? Do you give Acuna a chance at second to develop? Do you throw Acuna back to the minors? Do you put him in a package? A lot of questions. Do you put Acuna and either Beatty or Vientos in a package to Boston to get Duran to play center field? There's a lot of options available to us. But the Devin Williams really intrigues me if we lose Diaz. I think it would be interesting to take a flyer on him and cross your fingers that he produces Devin Williams' potential. That's my commentary on that. What say you? Anybody have any opinions on this? I'd like to hear your point of view. So we're watching the ball game, and let me pull up I think the Dodgers are going to go 3-up. It's still okay. It's top of the ninth, 3-1. Top of the ninth, 3-1. Let's go live with no outs. Okay, so Sasaki's on for the Dodgers. We got Vaughn up. And yes, Clark, I hate the Dodgers as well. I do believe that Seattle's going to be able to rise and beat the Blue Jays, although the Blue Jays were calling the Mariners their daddy last night. There was nothing they couldn't hit. I mean, I think you could have had Sandy Koufax on the mound last night and the Blue Jays would have won. I think the Blue Jays came into Seattle on a mission with a game plan, and I think they certainly knew what to do. Yeah, Clark, the Dodgers, I can't get behind the Dodgers. I was really hoping that the Brewers would overcome their yips. And I think the Mets really last year put some doubt into their heads, right? They were 2 outs, 1 out, a couple outs away from advancing last year until Pete Alonso came up to the plate and hit that 3-run homer. So off of Devin Williams, who then just spit the bid in the Bronx, which I was very happy to see, personally. So, it's interesting to see where the Mets are, but the Mets really have to pivot fast. They have to decide on Pete Alonso's future, whether it's with the New York Metropolitans or if it's with another team. And then if that's the case, then they got to go, balls to the wall and bring in some quality ball players to fill the voids. The first quality ball player, I would allege, it would be to be bringing Cody Bellinger. That lefty swing down the right field line at Citi Field is really made for him. I like Darryl Strawberry swing he's got, Bellinger. And you can't really go wrong with a lefty. I mean, to offset the lineup. So it's going to be interesting off season. I really think Harold Atkins, let's bring you up. I feel third base is Beatty's. The platoon of Vientos is not sustainable. Beyond some flashes with the glove, what does Acuna really offer? Well, Acuna offers speed, right? He offers outstanding speed, and if you could afford to have him as a late inning base runner, he's invaluable as that. His speed is second to none. He's extremely talented. I really thought his hitting would come around, but to be honest with you, they never let him play consistently. He was up and down in the minors, and then when he came to the major leagues, he sat 4 games, played 1, sat 3, played 2, sat 5, played 1, etc., etc. You can't do that. You can't do that. And Harold Atkins is saying that we need a permanent DH. Well, you could fix it permanent DH if you upgrade your outfield, right? So we all know Nimmo can't play the field. He's got no arm. He runs like I do now at 60 years old. Now, I used to be a gazelle back in the day. My friends will tell you that. I used to glide across the field in center field. But Nimmo runs like he's running on cracked glass. He doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have the athleticism. And so maybe we make him our designated hitter. But I'd like to see us get a designated hit. And now, granted that Nimmo had his best power year yet as a Met. And that was impressive, without a doubt. But I need a bona fide guy at DH that you could say at any given moment, this guy could put one out of the ballpark. So it's interesting to see how the Mets are going to approach this. I honestly think our pitching needs a major overhaul, but you're tied up with too many guys and too many contracts. I mean, McLean, my goodness, McLean is proven to be the real deal, and we'd like to see how he rebounds off of this. Clark, get it all off your chest. Speaking of things I hate the DH. While we're on the subject of people hating things, I hate Rob Manfred, for God's sakes. The guy is just he's the Antichrist. He's the demon of baseball. He's Satan personified. He's bastardized the game of baseball. And this whole ABS system next year, I'm just so against it. Now, I'll give you this. The umpires don't help themselves for sure. I wonder if they do game reviews. I wonder if they keep a book of their performance. Repeat after me. Rob Manfred hates baseball. Rob Manfred hates baseball. Rob Manfred hates baseball ad nauseum. Right. Allow managers to manage. Get rid of these analytic nonsense. The analytics, they're proven not to work. Gone to the days of Billy Martin, Earl Weaver, Tony La Russa. God, even Tommy Lasorda going with their gut. Tommy Lasorda pulling an injured, limping, crippled Kirk Gibson off the bench, who could barely stand at the plate. Analytics would told you to sit his ass down. But it worked out for one Tommy Lasorda and the Dodgers. And that, yeah, Clark. And the DH gone. Managers then have to decide whether or not to remove a pitcher or let him hit. Yeah, well, unfortunately, we're not going to get that back, Clark, sadly. But talking about pitchers and the duration that they pitch, Mendoza hardly ever made the right decision. He pulled guys too early or too late. He never pulled them at the right time, or he never let them finish out the inning. Too many times he pulled the guy out with 4 2/3 pitch with a lead, and then only to have the relievers come in and give up the lead, and it was a non-decision for the starting pitcher. So I can't argue any of these points that you present. I want the Pete Alonso situation resolved sooner than later, but we're going to find out. We're going to find out what's going to go on. We're jumping right now. It's 8:58. We'll go right into the prayer circle, and we want to keep Ace Frehley and everybody in his family in the music world in our hearts and prayers. He went an awful way. He fell in his studio, got a brain bleed, was put on life support, and succumbed to that injury today. Founding member of KISS. Harold Sanderson, we got Dawn Squared in our prayers. Carol and Bob, and your buddy Jerry. Harold Atkins, we got you guys down in Alabama in our thoughts and prayers. Terry Sanchez, we got your mom's legs, your mother-in-law, and your uncle in our memories and prayers. Antoinette Brooks and my brother Mark Brooks. Let's combine them tonight. Mark Brooks is going through testing right now to be a candidate for Antoinette's brother, who's in search of a kidney. And Mark qualified, but they do have some concerns, so they're doing additional testing. Scott Tobias, we're praying for your wife and mom. Clark, Brad and Tricia are in our prayers. Linda Stein, congratulations to your daughter Kelly on her promotion and her certifications. We're also praying for your dad, your hand, your housing situation, etc. Kevin Elliott, we're praying for your health. Krause family, we're praying that Aubrey remains in remission. Deb and Lee down in Maryland, we're praying for you guys. Marianne Bello, we're praying for your mom out there in Las Vegas. Larry Levy, also wife Frida, remaining in remission. Mr. McGowan, sir, we have your 6, my friend. Ralph, we're praying for your continued healing with your injuries. Pete and Shanny down in Florida on a new life. We're glad to report that Tom with severe pneumonia is back at the Cigar Lounge on a sporadic appearance, but smoking cigars once again. Big John, we're praying for your leg injury. Joe Echevarria, we're praying for your heart condition. West Coast, Dave Prince, we're hoping that all the testing produces positive results for you guys. Johnny Barbecue, we're praying for your sciatica. Johnny's sciatica has kept him out of the Cigar Lounge for a long time. And he had I think he had an epidural done, and it didn't help him. And believe me, I could certainly attest to sciatica being a debilitating injury. We're praying for John's friend Jimmy, whose sister passed. We're praying for peace in the Middle East. We're praying that Hamas lives up to their end of the deal and that Israel honors theirs. And in general, let's pray for humanity, which was a prayer from Linda Stein a couple of weeks ago. So a little subdued Angie's Angles this week with my heart, my AFib. As long as I got a breath left in me, folks, I'll be here every Thursday, 8:30. If you're ever in the neighborhood, please, I beg of you. And we're going to do a pre-announcement soon. Angie's Angles midwinter wings, bourbon, and cigar night. We'll make the announcement. If any of you have travel plans and you might be in the area, maybe you want to make travel plans, hint, hint, we'll be happy to entertain you. Best wings that I've had in a long time at BLD's in Ronkonkoma. I'll give them a little shout out. They're always hot, delicious, plump, fat, meaty, etc., etc., etc. Have a good night, everybody. Good night. God bless. We love you.